Welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Hermanson. I know it might seem cheesy or cliche, but if you've got a sleeping giant inside of you, or you just feel like you're made for more, then there's no coincidence you landed here on the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. Listen, as a girl from small town Wisconsin who decided to go all in to her dream life vision, I know how crazy it can feel to chase after wild ideas. Since leaving my 9-to-5 job in academics back in 2015 to becoming a yoga teacher, a life coach, and now a digital nomad, currently living in Merida, Mexico with my husband and Labradoodle, I know that all the cheesy cliches are true. I've watched a lot of my dream life become my real life right in front of my eyes. Oh, and I've learned a whole lot about sales, business, and marketing along the way, and I want to share all of that with you. So here, you can consider me your friend and mentor. As a certified business coach, success trainer, international speaker, author, and copywriter, I've helped hundreds of coaches and entrepreneurs build, scale, and enjoy their online businesses. So here on the show, you'll find the real people, concrete tactics, and weekly motivation and inspiration to make your dream life your real life. I'm going to let you into the nooks and crannies of these dream lives and dream businesses and offer lots of real talk along the way. Because to be a true leader in whatever you're endeavoring in your life and to create a legacy that you're proud of, you need a tribe lifting you up with you on the journey. And I've made it my mission to be that partner with you. Because after all, we are all in this together. By the way, if you'd like some help improving your business and life, then we just might be able to help. Head on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com to learn more about what we do and how I might be able to personally support you and just continue this conversation in making your dream life your real life. All right, let's get to it. Hey, friends. Today we have a very special guest. As always, we are hanging out with Bryce Henson, who is the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, the world's fastest growing fitness bootcamp franchise. Having over 10 years of experience in the fitness industry and owning 2 of his own Fit Body Bootcamp locations. I had the acronym there. I was like, FBBC, am I going to get them all right? So he's got 2 FBBC locations, and he is able to share his passion for fitness around the world, in addition to mentoring fitness professionals on how they can grow their businesses and change more lives in their local communities. He co-leads the Fit Body Bootcamp Mastermind group, which is an exclusive coaching group for high-performing fit pros. We love those folks. And it's interesting because Bryce was born in Atlanta, Georgia, but grew up in Michigan and has spent most of his adult life in California. So we can relate to the Midwest snowbird to California, part of my story as well. And he's a graduate of the Michigan State University and speaks Brazilian Portuguese fluently since he's lived in Florianópolis, Brazil. He holds citizenship in the US and Portugal. He enjoys world travel just like us, and we are so glad that you are here with us today, virtually.
Totally. Well, that was a mouthful, but Hannah, I am super excited to be here. You have such an awesome personality, so excited to connect with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. I know bios are always kind of a mouthful, but it's so important, right? I think when we get to see a little side of where you're coming from, what you're up to, and what you're actually about, it's okay if it's a mouthful. I'm glad we get that little, flash of who Bryce might be, so folks can continue to tune in. And as we were talking before we hit record here, this idea that you have been pretty mobile in your life, grew up in the Midwest, went to California, you spend some of your time internationally. I'm curious if that was always part of your vision, if you saw yourself as being worldly and doing lots of different creative things or building businesses, or where this even vision that life could be this way for you, where did that come from? Do you remember?
Holy smokes. That's an incredible question. I actually don't think I've been asked that, it's such a big part of my life, but no, it was not that way at all. And really growing up in the Midwest, I, had a nice, happy childhood and certainly had some turbulence when I was super younger. That's what brought me to Michigan. But ultimately, the Midwest are amazing people. And I was isolated in my little bubble, if you will. And in fact, I'm embarrassed to say this, but my first year of college, I went to Michigan State, which for a public university has the most students that study abroad, so a very big program. But I went to the International Center, and it was frustrating because there's a lot of kids with accents. I couldn't even talk, and I'm like, who are these people? Get them out of my country. I am so embarrassed even at the thought of me saying that now, considering I've traveled and opened my world. But that's actually where, I don't want to say started, but in 18 years old going to school, that was my mentality.
I didn't even leave the country until I was 18. Like, I didn't have a passport. Like, I just stayed in Wisconsin, and it's amazing. I'm like, love college for that, just like paradigm shift, that there's a world way bigger than your like small town or your local county. I totally relate to that. Like, this is so weird, but intriguing at the same time. Diversity. What a thing.
Totally. And that was kind of my entrance. So we're on the same page there. But by the time I left, actually, and I think the indoctrination of, study abroad at Michigan State, I had a few friends that traveled, around the world. I ended up enrolling into a study abroad program in Asia. I was actually based in Hong Kong, spent time in Singapore and Japan. And similar to you, I was actually 20 by the first time I left the country, but it was May of 2004. And I put myself on a plane to Tokyo, Japan. And Hannah, that was actually the game changer for me. Like, that paradigm shift, it might've been like, it was almost like I was on Mars. It was that different for me, considering my little bubble at the time. And I think that was one step of many that really opened my eyes, which then led to the California experience, traveling the world, visiting Brazil, and then living there. So it all kind of came full circle. But really, to answer your point, it did not start out that way for me, but I cultivated it. And that trip to Asia when I was a senior in high school is really what opened up my world.
Yeah. Well, I think that each of us have some experience like that, where you set a goal or you have an idea of how life is going to go for you. And then you have an experience or an insight that you want more of, and you're not willing to just go back to how it was or what your parents did or what you're supposed to do or what you thought the plan was going to be. I have a very clear memory of being in Kenya, because then I got my first taste of travel as a freshman in college, and I was just like, had the travel bug, right? And I might still have this journal in my parents' house in Wisconsin, but I remember being in Kenya and saying, I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know what that's going to look like, but I made a commitment to myself to like continue expanding my borders and like being in the world. And I think as entrepreneurs, we have to make those kind of commitments to ourselves, because it's not easy. It's not clear. It's always like a foggy path. And so I'm curious, like, if there was, for me, it was about not doing the status quo. I was like, I see how everyone else in my life has made decisions, and that's where they have ended up. I want to keep doing this because the people I bump into when I travel, that's what I'm interested in. I want to continue down this path of life. So for you, I'm curious if there was something about travel, like, was it the freedom you experienced or the like constant awe that you were in, or was there something that you might've said like, yes, thank you, more, please, back then?
I love it. I mean, we are kindred spirits, and I had a similar type realization, like in my travels that way, because it's just such a paradigm shift and game changing. So, I say for me, the biggest thing that I just get the most value from travel and is probably that sense of freedom. And I remember when I moved to Florianopolis, Brazil, literally I'm 7,000 miles from where I grew up, the opposite hemisphere. Like, it's December, January, it's blazing summer, which is completely contradictory to like shoveling snow in Michigan, when I was younger. And that sense of like freedom, liberty, in stretching that comfort zone, almost like I'm a feeling alive. And I think that was a huge, benefactor in this experience. And then the other two it's a little bit of a dichotomy, Hannah. Traveling for me, and for most people, I would say, including your audience who knows this, it both humbles you, but also gives you so much confidence at the same time. Because, when you do hard things, when you stretch your comfort zone, and the biggest thing that I want to hit on right now is, the destination's fun, but let's face it, like traveling, it's uncomfortable. Plane rides, like things don't go well. You're not really fluent in the language. I mean, there's just a million things that go wrong. So it's like very, very uncomfortable. But when you do hard things, when you stack wins, when you accomplish hard tasks, it gives you this huge boost of confidence. So I think that was another thing that I really, and still do to this day, gain from travel. On the flip side, though, of the dichotomy of it, it also humbles you. It really kind of provides like this level of gratitude, and you realize you're one with the world and one with human nature. So I think, combination of freedom, stretching comfort zones, building that confidence, and also, grounding me with a sense of humility. For me, that's how I would basically wrap up the big experience that travel's had in my life, and really even to this day.
Yes. Okay. All of those like keywords that you're saying really make me just think that like, that is a metaphor for how I want my life to be, right? I want to be stretched. I want to be uncomfortable enough that I have a breakthrough, right? And I think as you're speaking that, I'm seeing these parallels, metaphors in that I love travel. I love fitness. I love like running a marathon or teaching yoga or like learning new things, like in the spin world, if we want to get into it. And the same thing, the same sort of lessons or characteristics show up in entrepreneurship. So obviously, those of us that are wild and crazy enough to travel the world, take on fitness challenges and start businesses have a lot in common. So I want to transition now to this. You're the same way. You've got over a decade of being a fitness professional, and holy cow, I can only imagine the things that you've seen change and evolve, and the stretching and the growth and the discomfort and the missed meals and the messy everything that's gone along with that. So will you tell us a little bit about your, experience in the fitness industry, and maybe what are some of the biggest like life lessons that you've gotten from being in the fitness space for as long as you have?
Yeah, great question. And I think really to your point, paralleling with travel, it's the same thing. Like fitness is very, very challenging, right? So it's very hard. That's why most people aren't fit. In fact, at the time of this recording, nearly 50%, 50 of the American population are statistically obese. And that just shows you it's not like a lack of education. You ask the random person on the street, should I eat a lean salad or should I eat a cheeseburger? They're going to tell you like eat a lean salad, although like it's the execution and actually doing it is really what the big disconnect is. But this all to say, because working out and living fit is tough, when you push yourself, when you grow, when you stretch, when you accomplish more hard things, when you stack those wins, you become incredibly confident. And that's really what happened for me. So as I kind of told you for my Asia study abroad story, that really was like the catalyst, I should say, to open up my mind. And from there, when I got back to Michigan, I finished up my school at Michigan State. I was looking for different opportunities, outside my little bubble of the Midwest, and an opportunity came out in Los Angeles, California. And I was excited. The palm trees, the blue skies, like all the great things about California. The
promised land. Oh my God. California dreaming. I was like hook, line, and sinker. In my first like San Francisco opportunity, I was like, yes, it's the golden land. I will be there. I can relate.
Let's go. Right. So, but that all said, when, I moved and it was hard, I didn't know anyone. I had very little professional skills. I was 21 at the time and I wasn't fit. I, wasn't obese by any stretch of the imagination, but I had 20 pounds of body fat, very little muscle in my frame, didn't have the energy, the enthusiasm for life. And a fortuitous situation happened where a close friend of mine from the Midwest moved out to California, and he wasn't on the cover of Men's Health, but he could have been. And we ended up deciding to live together. He had the confidence, all the girls, and just this energy, enthusiasm. And after a few months of living together, I finally mustered up enough courage. I was like, Adam, would you just show me a little bit about fitness and, how you get fit and how you eat? And he said, absolutely, but only if you commit to my program for at least 90 days. And the reason that is many people ask me this, but most people just quit and it's going to get hard. But if you stick through, you're going to see results. And that's really what happened. So he showed me how to lift weights, how to, do circuit training, how to eat clean. But the biggest thing he showed me was actually the coaching and accountability, because I would love to look at you, Hannah, and to your audience and say, I would have done it by myself without any coaching or guidance, but I can't tell you that. So, ultimately, long story short, I, joined the program 90 days in. It was about probably 6 months before like my real transformation really hit. But I dropped 20 pounds of body fat, put on 20 pounds of muscle. But more importantly, it changed my life. I went from the lowest performing sales rep to the highest performing sales rep. We had more business acumen, more confidence. And that was really, the foundation on how I got started in the fitness industry. And, some of those lessons are challenging yourself, doing hard things, stacking wins, building confidence. And in my humble estimation, even without the obesity pandemic that our country, even world is going through right now, if you are not fit, if you are overweight and lethargic, and bless your soul if you are, like certainly the call to action is to get yourself into a fit place, but you can't look me in the eye and say your life is full. And similar, if you don't have travel and don't have perspective, it's really hard to say that. So for me, fitness is the foundation, and it really lays the foundation for business success, for travel success, for life success, relationship success, and everything.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from you is that it really does come back to the commitments that we make with ourselves, right? Like I was like, I'm doing this thing. I'm like going to continue to grow and travel for the rest of my life. And you're like, I'm doing this for 90 days. And I see this in entrepreneurs as well. When we take away that like plan B, it's just like, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to find the mentorship. I'm going to do the reps. I remember when I was starting my business, my then boyfriend, now husband, was like, all right, it takes most businesses 3 years to fail or succeed. So like, let's give you 3 years to see what you can do. And I'm so grateful for that, because I made that commitment. Like, I'm doing this for 3 years. They're going to ride the roller coaster. And I held that promise with us, right? But this is also how we build self-esteem, when we do what we say we're going to do. And in the gym, that's a really easy place to start flexing that muscle of like, I said I'm doing it for 90 days. I said I'm showing up at 5 a.m. And when you do it, we build that confidence. And I think this is why fitness and entrepreneurship go hand in hand, because it's like you practice it in the gym or on your run, and then we build that internal muscle, that mindset that lets us do hard things, traveling and in business. Totally. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. And really self-confidence or self-esteem is really just self-trust. Do you trust yourself? And the more you trust yourself, meaning you do what you say you're going to do, the more self-esteem and confidence you have. So couldn't agree more. And actually, Hannah, that's the reason why specifically when I had this dream of living abroad and learning another language, I settled on Brazilian Portuguese. I had a vacation in Brazil in Christmas, actually in 2008, and just had this awesome experience. So when I got back to California, I started taking some Brazilian Portuguese classes, and I was making a little bit of traction, but it occurred to me, there's only one way that I'm actually going to learn this thing. And I'm going to have to parachute myself down in Brazil and basically immerse myself into, your words, commit. Because if I didn't make that commitment, I would not be bilingual to this day. And that's the same, parallel metaphor for, fitness, for business, for learning language, doing really anything that's hard, that's going to really give you self-esteem, confidence, and fulfillment.
Oh, yes. Beautiful. Like, what good life lessons, just, take the cliches and run with them, because they are true. You hear them over and over because they're true. That's why we keep repeating some of these, like, yeah, that makes sense. But when you embody it, when you really have that experience of like, I'm all in, I'm committed, magical things happen. So,
and way easier said than done. And that's the big thing. It sounds good. It's true. It's just hard. It's not easy.
Yeah. And I think it's important for us to know that there are going to be those like highs and lows. And if you've been in entrepreneurship for a minute, you've definitely experienced that. So I want to hone in here. I want to parachute us into your entrepreneurial life now. So you are into fitness, you like it, but now how do you then become the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp? Like, walk us through the highlight reel of that transition, would you?
Totally. And never in a million years. And it's still surreal. I kind of pinch myself every day that, 6 months ago at the time of this recording, I ended up getting appointed as the CEO by our founder and now president, Bedros Keuilian, or B for short. But basically after my physical transformation, I rocketed my sales career, had more life and enthusiasm traveling. And, but it was interesting. Even though I had a successful sales career because of my fitness transformation, I wasn't particularly or formally in the fitness space. So I thought to myself, you know what, if I got fit and this changed my life, I want to help other people in the process. So I decided to do what, the standard personal trainer would do, which would be to, get certified through National Academy of Sports Medicine, which is the gold standard in personal training. So I did that. And then shortly thereafter, I think I changed my Facebook profile, updated it to certified personal trainer. And I started receiving ads from this gentleman named Bedros Keuilian, who I just referred to, about, starting a personal training and a coaching business. So I ended up following along. And at the time, I actually moved to Brazil. So I was kind of there for 2 years following from afar. But in 2012, when I knew I was coming back to California, I started paying more attention to this little brand called Fit Body Bootcamp, which was just going from a licensing program to a formal franchise. And I spent about 3 months of doing diligence, talking to many people as possible, ended up investing my life savings and opened my first location. And, it was very successful within a short period of time, all things considered, but there was a lot of highs and there was a lot of lows. And especially those first few months where I, joked to my family and friends that I lived there. I just pitched a tent in the corner. I didn't, but it felt that way at times. But in any case, after stumbling and, falling and succeeding and getting coaching and taking action, ended up taking that one location and scaled to 5. And actually, we're talking off air. That was from 2012 to 2017. And at that time, Bedros invited me and one of our friends and colleagues, Xander Fryer, to his Empire Mastermind group. So I, tapped in his coaching there, built a stronger relationship. And over that year, as we developed our relationship even further, when Fit Body Bootcamp was really starting to hockey stick in 2018, he ended up recruiting and offering me his vice president role. And I joined the brand. It was interesting, like being an owner within the brand and having my gyms. But then now being both in the fitness space, but now as the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, I'm in the leadership team, I'm in the franchising space. But it was a big learning curve. But over the last 3 years, I've just put in a lot of work and developed an incredible team and really honed in my leadership skills. And, June of this past year in 2021, at our world conference is when Bedros passed the baton, announced me as the CEO. And, it's very surreal, so grateful, but certainly a lot of work ahead as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the way that you speak about this is, of course, right. Highlight reel. It all makes sense as you connect the dots looking backwards. Right. And that's true for all of us with our stories. And I'd love to just kind of zero in on the phases where you were building your gyms and when you were moving from being that like personal trainer, you probably had your own clients, you're probably doing all the things, working a lot of hours to get more clients. And then that transition to like establishing a team, a company, something bigger than just like Bryce on the floor. What would be some of the things you would tell Bryce now, right? Like looking back and being like, okay, you're moving from being a personal trainer into being like a business owner. What were some of the lessons or even like identity shifts that you remember going through or would give yourself advice on? I mean, loaded 17 questions, pick one that you guys would let us know.
Oh, yeah, you're awesome. Your personality is so colorful. I would just say 2 come to mind, and I'll lead with, the first one is marketing is an investment, not an expense. So I was so gun shy, like a lot of our other owners are, to, start Facebook ads, start Instagram ads, which actually didn't even, you couldn't even do that in the platforms at the time we launched, but just the other platforms, Yelp and whatever the case may be. But you can't be afraid to basically invest in your marketing, because that's how you're able to attract and grow an email list and then convert those leads into paying clients. But the biggest thing for me would be the development of leadership skills. And what I realized, when you first start as a fitness professional, you have to lead yourself first and foremost to be healthy and fit. So that way you can pour into other people. And then secondarily, you have to be able to lead your clients because they're looking for you for support. So that's like the second tier of leadership. But then the next evolution is when you start growing your business, you're getting more clients. Then you got to bring on front desk people, administrative and other coaches. So then now, in order to leverage your time, which is actually a beautiful high income skill is leadership, because you're able to leverage your time by getting a team of people marching towards that same vision or direction. But now you have to lead your coaches, and the cycle repeats. Then I had to start leading. I developed what's called the coaching and profitability team at FitBody headquarters, assembled the 7 of the top fitness owners in our brand to be our business coaches. So then I had to start leading them, then the leadership team, and now our whole franchise. So it's an evolution. And as B likes to say, it's not an on and off switch, it's a dimming switch, your leadership skill or your ability. But if I could go back to my younger self when I first started, aside from the marketing piece, would just be leadership is always the problem and is always the solution. And when you want to grow and scale and basically buy back some of your time and leverage yourself, you have to develop leadership skills. And for me, I feel fortunate. I do have some of those skills inherently and naturally. I don't necessarily with marketing, not to say that I can't learn and will continue to learn those skills, because I have and I will. With leadership, I have that kind of just a natural, plug for it, but it's also something I've developed exponentially, and I continue because I am such a better leader than I was 8 years ago. And I have such a long way to go in order to get where I want to be.
I love that dimming switch idea, right? And like, as you turn up your intensity or your light, that means that you just get to be brighter for your whole team. And like, who knows how much you can crank up the dimmer, if you will. And I think one of the things that you're saying is that you shifted from this perspective of like, how do I do this? Right? You knew you weren't going to like run the front desk and do invoicing and have 1 million clients. Like, you started asking yourself different questions. And some of the questions that I've been asking myself, I have a team of 7 right now, and it's been a huge shift to go from how do I do this? How do I figure this out? What do I need to do? And asking 2 other questions, which I'm sure you do, is like, number 1, who do I need to become to have that thing or to reach that goal or to be that leader? And then 2, who can help me with this? And that sounds so silly, but it's a really big shift when you're coming from solopreneur and you're used to the hustle and you're used to learning the marketing and the this and the that, to take that step back. This is where time leveraging comes in, right? It's when you're not figuring out how to do it all, but you're starting to think, who do I need to become and who can help me with this? I found that has brought so much ease in that transition from me to we.
Oh, amen to that. Yeah. And really, who do I need to become? To me, and the way I describe that is your identity, and your identity needs to change. Just like when I was not a fit guy, and then the first time when I started getting fit, I had the light bulb when not a client at the time, it was just a fellow gym goer, walked up to me and said, "Hey, Bryce, how do you lift weights or how do you eat?" And I kind of looked at like, me? Because for that period of time, my identity was like the unfit guy or the guy in process. And it occurred to me, oh, shoot, I'm fit now. Maybe I can help others, but it's the identity. And that's the same, with any skill that you want to acquire. And then so true on who can help me with this. And I even say now, who can help me with this, but who can actually even do it as good or even better than I can? And one of the biggest fallacies that I thought, in my young leadership journey was that because I'm the owner of the business or the CEO, that I have to be the best at anything. And that is just not the case. Like, in fact, I have assembled and so grateful for a team of incredible people that have amazing skill sets, like on marketing and sales copy and, data analytics, that honestly, they are way better at me at those job functions, but that's okay. That's not my job as the leader, CEO. My job is to orchestrate the team, to be consistent, to provide the vision, to have strong communication, and really put the right people on the right bus and the right seats of the right bus, so that we're all moving together. And I think, hopefully for me, that was a giant paradigm shift. And hopefully for your audience, you really, really take that to heart, because if you do want to leverage yourself, buy back your time, you need to develop your leadership skills. And you're probably going to feel, oh, shoot, this person's not going to do it as good as me, but trust me when I say this, as you build more reps, you will realize that and it's okay. You just have to lead them to the common goal.
Yes, I love that. I love putting people in their lane, right? Like you talked about your zone of genius being bringing people together, like leading, and we all have that thing. Like not everyone on my team is a mini Hannah. Like they're all good at other things. And I think once I realized that when we all live in our zone of genius, we all go further, faster. This is another reason why we switched. I was telling you, we went from business coaching to done for you copywriting, because so many coaches are not copywriters, right? Like many people like on your team are not personal trainers or are not travel, it's like finding those things and just, I think as business owners, trusting that you don't have to be the jack of all trades. You just have to be great at living in your zone of genius. So
totally. Amen to that. And honestly, to your audience, rewind that a second, Hannah, because what you just said is gold.
Well, I appreciate you. And there's tons of nuggets in here. I'm sure people are like, I want to learn how to lift weights. I want to learn Brazilian Portuguese. Like, I want to learn how to have a franchise myself. So Bryce, where can people continue the conversation with you and learn more about all the work that you do?
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much, and happy to add value to you and your audience. But both my website and then also all my social media handles are Real Bryce Henson, or the website's realbrycehenson.com. Not to be confused with fake Bryce Henson. So Real Bryce Henson, just for clarity, is you can find me on all the social media channels and my website as well.
Awesome. I love it. We'll make sure we have links in the show notes so you can stay connected and make all of those fitness and business dreams your real life. That's what we're all about here, making your dream life your real life. So I'll be back, listeners, with another inspiring guest next week. Until then, enjoy the ride. And don't forget to hop on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show for specific goodies that we talked about today and access to continue the conversation with these guests as well as myself. I cannot wait to see what you create. Until next time.